Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the voice inside your head, or the voices inside of your head. And I want to connect a few things that I've been learning, that I learned a while ago, that are just now connecting. And I've been reading this book for a while now, just kind of flipping through it. It's called An Amazing Journey into the Psychotic Mind, Breaking the Spell of the Ivory Tower. It's by Jerry Marzinski, super informative read. And he basically is a psychiatrist who worked in prisons for a number of years, and he started documenting the voices that his schizophrenic patients would hear in his head. And additionally, I don't know what they're doing. But additionally, after that, he started not only looking at people who were diagnosed as schizophrenic or who had mental health issues, but he started thinking about the average everyday person. He's like, well, everybody hears voices in their heads, and everybody kind of has a certain amount of like negative voice or negative type of, experiences with the voice inside of their head. And he started just asking why, why do we think these things? Why do these negative voices tell us that we're not good? Or, what are they saying to us? How frequently? And he started studying it. And what he came to realize is that a lot of the times the voices in our heads aren't actually ours. And he came to understand that they would repeat the same things over and over. He learned that most people, the voices that are in their heads are saying the same thing when it comes to the negative, like the negative phrases that they use, saying like, you're not good enough, nobody loves you, nobody likes you, you should kill yourself, da da da. And so it just makes you think, like, how are hundreds of thousands and millions of people hearing the same type of voices and with the same kind of negative low frequency? And again, he just figured out that the voices aren't actually ours. So this is a really good book if you're into things like that. I was just interested behind the science behind it, interested in just kind of like, I don't know, just the scientifics behind it, because you can think of it from a spiritual aspect and from like a physical aspect, and people think that the voice in our head is ours, but that's not necessarily the case. And then I want to tie that into what I've been thinking and learning about with Michael Singer. And he has a book called The Untethered Soul. I don't think I have that with me, but his book basically says that the nonstop, incessant voice that you have inside your head, he also says that it's not yours, but he's coming from a more spiritual perspective in that he says you can observe the voice. So if you notice that there's a voice inside of your head constantly talking, picking, complaining, pointing things out, like not happy with certain things, or just describing everything around you, he said that if you're noticing that, then that means that you are the observer and that it's not actually you, and that you don't have to identify with it. And I found these two pieces of information helpful because, one, when I read Michael Singer, I read it before I read this book. For one, no one ever told me the voice in my head, like if I'm aware of it, that I'm the observer. Like no one ever told me that it wasn't mine, right? And so when you're growing up, when you're going through life, when you're learning, you're automatically assuming that these thoughts are yours, and you're automatically identifying with them. And then that feels horrible, because who wants to identify with thoughts that tell you that you're nothing, that you're worthless, that you can't do this, that you can't do that, that's never happy? Like, it's like literally having another person around who is constantly talking, constantly pointing things out. It's exhausting. And so learning that information was really revolutionary for me, because now it's like, I don't have to identify with that voice anymore. I can separate myself, the observer, from that voice. And it's taken a lot of practice. It's taken a lot of time. I'm not perfect at it, but I want to share an example of how I did it maybe a little bit later once I get through explaining. And then finding out the scientifics behind it, not just the spiritual aspect, but the scientifics behind it with this book a couple of years later was really interesting too, because you learn about the mental health industry, you learn about how they diagnose people, you learn that there's actually no such thing as a chemical imbalance, and you learn about the really horrible practices and things that they do, that the medical industry does, in order to basically institutionalize people and keep them indoctrinated to something that doesn't actually exist. And of course, it's in the name of money and in the name of control. And he just talks about how he was able to help get people actual help that they need, and not just giving people a bunch of pills, saying that they have a chemical imbalance without actually being able to prove what chemicals are imbalanced and by how much, and how it differs from person to person, and actually understand what the voices are. So I think if you have a lot of negative self-talk, and if you are just frustrated or exhausted by the voices in your head, really check out Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, and then check out this book, Breaking the Spell of the Ivory Tower by Jerry Marzinski. They also have podcasts on YouTube. It's super helpful, you guys, and it just gives you a different perspective, because like I said, I grew up thinking that this voice was mine. I've spent the first half of my adulthood thinking that the voice is mine as well, and that's not a good feeling. So now that I know that, I'm able to kind of redirect that energy, and instead of just letting it flow and like just letting these voices run rampant and thinking that I'm a victim, now I'm able to take charge and actually say, okay, that's not my thought. Like, I don't know where that came from, but it's not me. And maybe I'll make a part 2 on this video too, but I want to end it by giving you an example of how I was actually finally able to do this in real time for one of the first times. Maybe I've done it before, but I'm actually aware of it this time. And this just happened yesterday, and it actually made me feel like so good. I'm not gonna cry. It made me feel so good though, because in real time I was able to redirect and soothe and observe the voice in my head without having to use distraction, without having to feed into the negative energy or the negative thought, and it felt really good. So I was driving, I was having I wouldn't say a rough day yesterday, but it was a lot of mind activity. I was thinking about a lot of different things. I was thinking negatively. My mind was basically just racing, and it was talking, saying like, oh man, I'm so stressed about this. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. Why is this happening? Da, da, da. This is negative. This is bad. This isn't going right. And right in the middle of it doing all of this, I noticed it. And then usually what I do is I'll say, no, stop, don't think that. Or I'll try to redirect and retrain my thought. And what I've come to realize is that is not helping. That's not me actually allowing the voice to express itself or allowing the energy to pass through like I was thinking. After reading Untethered Soul, I'm thinking that I'm letting the energy pass when really I'm stopping it, I'm reprimanding it, and I'm trying to redirect it, or I'm automatically trying to turn it into a positive thought. Without actually being able to, sorry, I just got distracted, but automatically trying to turn it into a positive thought without actually being able to let it flow through. And so in the middle of doing that, I was just like, okay, instead of like saying, no, don't stop, I literally was just like, I'm here, I'm listening. Like, what's wrong? What's the issue? And the voice, I could feel a change in energy. It was amazing. Like, I felt a change of energy. Instead of like it continuing to go into the loops of the negative thought and the negative words, I literally was just like, not me, but the voice was just like, oh, like it wasn't expecting it. This sounds fucking insane. Like, I know that this is going to sound crazy, but please stay with me. And so after I was just like, you know what? I'm listening. Like, what's wrong? What's bothering you? Why are you upset? I felt like it just shifted energy. I immediately felt like I was not pouring all of my energy or paying attention to this negative thought and trying to redirect it and refocus it and change it into positive. But now I was just allowing it to pass, letting it be, and letting it explain itself why it's upset. And that was so revolutionary for me. What I realized is that when I was younger, a lot of the times, right, I was a daycare kid. I went to daycare from a very young age. So there was a lot of policing of what I could and couldn't do. Of course, I went to school as well. And you know, when you tell kids, no, stop, don't do that, don't think that, don't say that a number of times, they're going to internalize that and bring that into their adulthood. And I feel like that's what I did. And I'm blaming anybody. I'm not saying that it's good or that it's bad. But what I'm saying is that I literally realized and became aware that I was treating the voice in my head how I used to get treated when I was younger. Like, instead of hearing it out and listening, I would just be told, no, stop, not give it an explanation, not allow it to express itself. I was not allowed to do the same thing either. So it was really incredible. And now, feel like moving forward, I feel like I can actually be better, and I can actually, like, instead of just trying to like resist and trying to stop the voice from even saying anything or thinking those things because it's bad, we shouldn't be doing that, no, stop. Now I'm like, okay, I can listen to it and let it express itself and not identify with it. And it feels so good. And I'm so grateful that I had that experience and that awareness, because it's not something that I was able to put into words or something that I was able to like actually, I don't know, like understand. You know, I was frustrated a little bit in my journey because I'm like, why do I keep having these same negative thoughts? Why do I feel like it's not working? Why do I feel like the principles and the things that I was learning and the things that I'm supposed to be like understanding, why is it not clicking? And now I'm realizing like it's because you're not actually expressing, you're just trying to redirect, refocus, and change instead of just let it be. So yeah, that was a mouthful, but I say all this to say, try to go at it from a different angle and try to have a different perspective of what it is that the voices are doing to you. Like, try to, instead of automatically try to stop it or try to think this is bad, I shouldn't have this thought, why am I doing this? Like, really try to listen to it, and try to listen to it from an observer standpoint. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with it. It doesn't mean that any of this stuff, but it'll be better in the long run, because if you keep, like Michael Singer says, if you keep resisting that information or resisting the voice, and if you keep resisting it expressing itself, it's just going to go deeper and deeper and deeper until one day you're going to have a break. So yeah, I hope I explained this well. That was like a lot, but I really appreciate you guys for watching. Hopefully this helps someone in their own journey. I know my videos can get kind of long, but if you listen to it in like 1.5 or 2x speed, that does help. That's what I do for a lot of my podcasts and a lot of my people. And yeah, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on the video. I would love to hear, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye.